Okay. Can we see it now? Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. So this is my contact information. It's also on the website. I would encourage anyone that has questions, you can always give me a call. You can always send me an email. I am more than happy to go over anything in detail with you. So very quickly, just for those of you that don't know who Legacy is, we're the community foundation that serves Lake County, Indiana. Indiana has 92 community foundations, more than any other state. And part of that is in part to enormous grants that were given out about 25 years ago from the Lilly Endowment. And so that's, you know, located in Indianapolis. And so they really thought that community foundations could be a great resource for each locality. And so they helped to establish most of the community foundations that we have today. And so we serve Lake County, and obviously we offer scholarships. That's what we're here for. We also provide grants to nonprofits locally here in Lake County. And we kind of serve as a mentor and a resource center for our nonprofits. We offer a lot of trainings and things like that so that, you know, we can help them do the best that they can do. We work with local leaders and residents to really address problems to enhance the quality of life here in Lake County. And then finally, we work with donors. So donors, philanthropists come to us and they want to see, you know, positive change in Lake County. And so we help them find the best use for their dollars, whether that be to use it for grants to nonprofits or scholarships or other types of programs. And so at Legacy, we have 2 scholarship cycles. So the first is the Lilly Endowment. That's what we're here today to talk about. And then the second is our universal application. And for that, we have one centralized application for over 30 different scholarships. I will be hosting another one of those closer to December to talk about that process, but it's good to just kind of make a note of that. And that application opens December 1st, and the application is due February 1st. But for the Lilly, which is what we're here to talk about today, the deadline for that is September 15th. And so what is the Lilly? So the Lilly is technically the Lilly Endowment Community Scholarship Program, and it was established in 1998 by the Lilly Endowment to help raise the level of education in Indiana. Really what they wanted to do is they saw that there was a brain drain in Indiana. Some of our best and our brightest students were leaving Indiana to go to colleges outside of the state. And so the focus is really to find our great students, help them pay for school here in Indiana, and then hopefully stay here and thrive locally. And so each county in Indiana participates in this scholarship. So we have one, Porter County, LaPorte, the 92 counties or 92 community foundations, they each have their own Lilly Endowment process. And through this scholarship, we've been able to award almost 200 of these scholarships since 1998. So what is the award? Obviously, everybody wants to know that. So we award 6 students from Lake County, and it covers 4 years of full tuition to any accredited 4-year public or private college. And so it, you know, can cover Ball State, IU, Purdue, Rose-Hulman, Notre Dame, any of those universities, it will cover full tuition. The students also get a $900 book stipend that they can use. I will say that the scholarship doesn't cover room and board, although from my experience, most of the students are able to get other aid that helps them either cover that completely or cover most of that. And a lot of that just depends on the school that they go to. A lot of the private institutions will waive room and board for Lilly scholars. Whereas the public institutions, sometimes we have to work a little bit to try and get that covered. But most of the students walk away owing very, very little for school, and that's wonderful. So to be eligible, you have to be a resident of Lake County, Indiana, and you also have to be a graduating senior from an accredited school in Lake County, Indiana. You have to have a 3.25 unweighted cumulative GPA. So that goes through your junior year. You have to meet a financial eligibility requirement, and we'll talk about that shortly. Citizenship is not required to apply, and we do not look at ACTs or SATs. Basically, the selection criteria, what our reviewers are looking for are academics, demonstrated leadership skills, service to others, character, essay, and then there is an interview for some of the finalists for the scholarship. So the timeline for students, so September 15th at 5 o'clock is the deadline. I like to stress that 5 o'clock is the deadline. It will not, the system is online and it will not allow you to submit after that. So it's a hard deadline. So the Lilly Endowment is unusual because we allow the schools to have a part of the process. So what happens is students apply and we actually send all of the applications to each school. So for example, Highland, you know, if they have 15 applicants, then we'll send those 15 applications to that school. And then each of the schools have their own independent process whereby they pick a finalist. And so on October 4th, schools report their finalist to Legacy Foundation. So at that point in the application process, you would find out whether you've been selected to move on to the final review. And so the final review then takes place by a legacy committee. We've got a committee of 5 to 6 people who will review all the applications and score them. And then we will notify people on October 22nd if you will be considered for an interview. We interview the top 16 to 18 scoring students. Those interviews are on October 28th and 29th. I do not know if they're going to be live or if they're going to be through Zoom. I think we're just kind of holding off to see how things kind of go. The interviews are about 30 minutes. And again, it's with that panel of 5 to 6 individuals. And then on December 15th, we announce the recipients. And the reason that there is a lag time is we actually, once we get our applications and the scores, we have to send all of that to the Lilly Endowment. And they have a committee that reviews all of our work and approves it. And so that's why there's that lag time. Also, they're the ones that put in place the timeline. So I know that this is kind of a strange scholarship. It's really early. That was determined, you know, the Lilly Endowment determined that. I think that they really wanted to make sure that the students that won the scholarship knew early, because it might make a difference in what schools they decide to apply to. So for example, you know, Rose-Hulman, Notre Dame, they're about $60,000 a year for tuition. And so sometimes that price tag just, you know, would scare a student off. But if they knew that they had received this scholarship, it may give them some leverage in that application process. Anybody have any questions while I'm kind of rolling through this? Okay. So the application is available online on our website. And these are just screenshots simply so that you can kind of, you know, see what you're going to look at. So you would click under scholarships, you go to the Lilly Endowment Scholarship. This has all of our criteria to apply. That's on our website. And this is where I want to talk about the financial eligibility requirements. So in order to apply, you have to meet these specific eligibility requirements. So if you're a student or if you're a parent looking at this, We are looking at what you reported on your 2020 income taxes. And so you would select the number in your household that is claimed on your income tax, and then you would look at that corresponding AGI. And if your income falls either equal to or below, then you would be able to apply. If it's above, then unfortunately you are not eligible to apply. Now, I will say that, if you're listening to this and you are not eligible because of the financial requirement, I would encourage you to come back and look at our common application that opens in December. We have a lot of high dollar scholarships through that program that don't have income requirements. So there still might be a scholarship out there for you. But unfortunately this one, would not be it. And at this point in the application, we don't ask for any verification of that financial information. But once you are selected as a recipient, you would be asked to provide some documentation so that we can ensure that you did meet the eligibility requirements set forth. So once you click that button to log in, this is the home page for our application. This is our system. It's called Foundant that we use. It's an outside provider, so if there's IT issues, I always tell people to reach out to me and let me know, and I'll reach out to them. It's a brand new system that we just got this year, so this is our first application that we're using this system for. But it's kind of similar to most online platforms that you would use. You would have to create a new account. We ask that you not use your high school issued email account. Mainly because we do almost all of our communication via email, and some schools won't allow outside, emails, so they'll get bounced back to us. Once you're in, you would create your profile. And so, I note on the bottom, so this is an information that's going to follow your application. So once you actually get into your application, whether it's this one or subsequent applications, it doesn't ask you for any of this information again. This is the only time it's going to ask you for it. So I ask that you, make sure things are completed correctly, that they're spelled correctly. This should be completed by the students, not the parents. So I don't want the parent's name here because then that parent name is going to show up on the application. So this has to be the student's information. And again, likewise, we ask that you make sure that this is updated. So again, we do most of our communication via email, or maybe we text you. So if at any point anything changes, we need to make sure that you go in and then update that in the system so that we can get in touch with you. So once you click, you enter all of your information and you're ready to go, the eligibility quiz is going to populate. And then this will ask you, those questions about your residency, the high school that you attend, your GPA, if you plan on attending a full-time course of study in Indiana, and then it will also have these income guidelines. And so if you click yes to all of these, then it would mean that you're able to move forward, and then you get into the actual application. And so this is what it's going to look like for the student. So all of these fields are expandable. So you'll click on them and then they'll get much bigger, and you can fill out your information, and then you can close them up so that it doesn't get, super long on you. You can download a PDF of the application. So if you just wanted to download the whole application and see on paper what it looked like, you're able to do that. You can save your application and then submit down in the bottom. It auto saves as you're typing. I don't know how often, but it kind of auto saves as you go. But I still recommend that you save it before you log out. And then if you get into the application and you realize, hey, this is too much, I don't want to do it, we ask that you abandon the request, which simply means that I won't continue to email you about the application, because I send out reminders pretty consistently. So if you don't want to be included in that because you've decided you're not going to apply, then just abandon that request, and that lets us know that you're not interested in applying any longer. So once you get into this, the student information, this can be a little tricky. This is something that's required with our new system, this project name. And the reason we do that is because for some scholarships, they're scored blindly, meaning that we don't use your name. It depends, you know, some schools do their initial review differently. So I don't know whether your school will be utilizing this or not. But so what you would do is you would just put the first two initials and then end with your phone number. So I would be JK, Jodi Kateiva, 1880, because that's the last four digits of my phone number here. So I'd be JK 1880. And then that will follow through, you know, all of your applications with you. And then we ask your high school right up front. That's because I send an email to your guidance counselors, maybe once a week in the beginning, and then it gets up to almost every other day to let them know who's applied from their school, who started, who's completed. So that just helps us so that we know to let them know. And then there's some general demographic questions. The reviewers do not have access to that. We do that really for our tracking purposes because we want to make sure that we're reaching a diverse group of students. And so this helps us best, you know, look back and make sure that we're getting, you know, the information out to all the students of Lake County. So family information, who do you live with? You know, really when it comes to scholarships, I would say, you know, the reviewers just want to get to know you. It's hard to look at a stack of papers. And so, you know, anything that we can do to just get to know you more. So it helps us, you know, do you live with both your parents, your father, your mother? Do you live with a relative? Are you independent? You know, that helps us, you know a little bit more about you. Similarly with your parent status, how long you've lived in Lake County, if you have any siblings and the ages of those siblings. So for the financial information, we're looking for the AGI. So that was the adjusted gross income that was reported in your family for their 2020 taxes. If you didn't file taxes, then there's a section where we want you to explain why. And then usually, you know, I can, you know, I'll reach out to you and we can have a conversation. That doesn't bar you from applying. We also want to know, again, the number in the household. So how many people did, you know, whoever claimed taxes for your family, how many people did they put on your 2020 taxes? And then this bottom is the financial statement. And I would say, you know, this is important. The reviewers look at this because we're not really scoring on finances too much because there's, you know, kind of already set in place this financial eligibility criteria. But sometimes, you know, something will happen that, you know, it would be really important for the reviewers to know. So, you know, if a family member lost a job or if there's extra medical bills, you know, if there's anything going on in your family's kind of financial world that you want us to know about, this is where you would let us, you know, tell us this. It's also good, you know, we ask, how do you intend to pay for college? So if you don't get this scholarship, what are your plans? You know, if reviewers want to know that this is something that you're thinking about. So, you know, I would say, don't, you know, don't forget about this section. Make sure you put something in there. So next we ask for extracurricular activities. This is pretty standard for all scholarship applications. So we're looking for school clubs, you know, music groups, drama, NHS, Key Club, any academics. I do say athletics that are performed outside of your school. So if you're in travel ball, that's not through your school, you know, this is where you would put that. If you see here in the green, it says, please only include activities that you participated in for a minimum of 2 seasons. We really are trying to make this application as easy as possible for students. So, we're really looking for those activities that you're kind of dedicated to, that you've spent a number of seasons working on. And so that's why we ask you to only include those activities. And a special, highlighted red box, we do give you an example. This is a free form text box. And so we've given students an example of what we want to see. And so, I would say, make sure you follow the example format, because the reviewers are going to look to make sure that all of that information that we've asked for is in there. So, we want you to put each year that you were involved. If you anticipate that you're going to be involved senior year, even if you haven't, we would ask you to put that in. We want to make sure that you describe leadership positions, or if you've gotten any awards, special recognition. This is where you can put that in. And it's just a big text box, so you can write as much as you want the reviewers to see. And similarly with the community, religious, civic activities. So these are things that you've done that are outside of school. And we say, do not list your activities related to the school service clubs. And what we mean by that is, so sometimes, you'll be a member of NHS or a Key Club, and so you'll have a lot of one-day events that you do. We don't want that to kind of clog up your application. If you already tell us that you're in NHS and that you did X amount of community service hours through NHS, that's great, but it doesn't really belong in this section of the application. For this, we're really looking for things that are not associated with school clubs. So if you are, part of a church group, or if you do mentoring, or if you're in a civic engagement club, anything kind of outside of school is what we're wanting here. Or if you've done, any kind of extra camps, or, even if you've done things in your community for neighbors, this is, again, the place that we want you to put this. So, you mow someone's lawn in your neighborhood and you have for the last 4 years. This is something that you could put here, because again, it's an open text box. So you can, explain what that service is and how long you've done it for. And then the final big section is the employment history. Again, it's an open text box. So you can add an employer. If you have a resume, you can tweak your resume to make sure that you have all this information. I know resumes don't always ask for hours per week. So I would say if you have a resume, you can go in and tweak that part, and then you can just upload it. Now, mind you, you don't get brownie points if you upload a resume. This is not so that students will go and then have to create a resume. This is simply added as a time saver. So if you have one, fantastic, upload it and move on. If you don't have one, no problem. Then we would just ask that you would plug that information in, just as you did for the other sections. But we don't need both. And then we've got 3 essays. They're short essays. And again, we're trying to we understand that this is so soon in the year that we're trying to make this as accessible as possible. So we ask you to talk about your future goals and, how they're going to contribute to the quality of life here in Northwest Indiana. Essay 2, help us get to know you. So write about your background, an identity or an interest, or something that is really meaningful to you. And then finally, essay number 3. So discuss an accomplishment, an event, a challenge, or a realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. So they're really kind of open-ended. They are Not the first one, but the other two, SA2 and SA3, are also very similar to essays that are in the Common App that you would apply to for some of the colleges. And so again, we kind of did this on purpose because these are things that you already might be thinking about for other scholarship or college opportunities. And for this section, you're going to be putting those in the text box. So I recommend writing them in Word or whatever that you're using and then saving them. And then you can just cut and paste them in. I would hate for you to be typing them and then some computer glitch happens and then they're gone. So I would save them somewhere else and then plug them in so that you always have that backup. And then finally, the last section is the recommendation context. So we do not require recommendation letters for this scholarship. So what happens is the school can use this in their process when they are determining who their school's nominee is going to be. And so I don't want you to reach out to these individuals. You don't have to do anything. All we want to do is just have a name, just 2 people that are at your school. They need to be people from the school so that your nominating committee at school knows who they can talk to. So if it's, you know, whomever it might be, they may call them up and say, hey, tell me about Jodi. She's applied for the Lilly Scholarship. So the students don't need to do anything kind of further with that. And then finally, before you submit, I would ask you to, you can download a PDF of your application. And if you go to your main dashboard, it's that application packet button. And that allows you to see in real time exactly what this is, the exact paperwork that our reviewers are going to see. So it gives you an opportunity to make sure that things are looking good and that, everything is exactly how you want it to be before you submit. So does anyone, I'm going to kind of go on to some scholarship tips and some stuff about essays quickly, but does anyone have questions? I don't see any in chat. I'm doing this by myself here at the office, so I haven't seen anything. But if you have questions, you can shout them out now.
This is just for upcoming seniors, correct?
It is.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. So for the common application that opens in December, we have scholarships for current college students, as well as adults returning to education, and then some graduate level scholarships. So we do have those, but unfortunately for the Lilly, or not unfortunately, but for the Lilly, it's only for seniors in high school that are going to go away to college in 2022. Yikes. Okay, so scholarship tips, really just brag about yourself. I know that people laugh when they see this, but I cannot even tell you the amount of times that I've been in an interview with a student and things have come up that, blow us away because they weren't in the application. And, we always say, why didn't you write that? Oh, I forgot, or I wasn't really thinking about it. So, I tell all the students that I meet, take the time to write down all of your activities. Not even just for this scholarship, but there's tons of other scholarship applications. There's college applications. I mean, this is always good information for you to have, just saved as a Word document so that you can, access it easily. Okay, so where do you go to fill out the application? So everything is online. So if you go to our website and it's www.legacyfdn.org, or you can just Google, Legacy Foundation County. It will direct you directly to the website where you can apply. So capitalization and spelling counts. So, make sure that you're giving it a once over. Print it and read it before you submit. It'll help you hear errors. make sure that you uploaded documents correctly. Now, we only really for this one have the resume, but in our old system, because this is a brand new system, you know, people uploaded essays and whatnot. And I had many times valedictorians upload the wrong document. So, you know, if you have that resume, you know, make sure that you've uploaded the right thing. How many applicants do I get or do we get each year? It varies. I would say anywhere from 220 to last year we had our most ever. We had 299, but it's usually anywhere around 225 to 250. And there are 26 schools in Lake County. And that has decreased because of the changes in Hammond. So, you know, we usually, you know, are working with all of those schools. So again, you know, when it comes to that final review, there's 26 students that are going to make it to that final review. And then of those, you know, 6 will get the Lilly Endowment. And then we also have 5 other additional scholarships that we give out. So even those students that don't win the Lilly review, the Lilly scholarship, you know, can win some of those other scholarships as well. So I would also find a reviewer. They can catch things that you might miss. You know, take your time. We've really tried to make this application pretty easy. So, you know, take your time and make sure that you are filling things out correctly. You know, I know people are eager to submit, but, you know, make sure that you're giving us all the information that we've asked for. And then, you know, finally, don't wait until the last minute. Every year I have students who don't submit on time and we are not able to look at those applications. So, you know, I don't want that to be you. Just understand that it is a computer and computers can have glitches. And so, you know, I tell people, you know, do it a day in advance. Yeah, I mean, just to make sure, or that morning. You know, you shouldn't be finalizing things at 4:55 because bad things could happen. I've seen it happen every year. So I don't want that to happen to you. Where do we submit our essays? So everything is submitted online through the application and it's due September 15th is the due date. And Frederick, I see that you private messaged me and I'm gonna type back to you once I finish with this. And then finally, these are just essay tips. Again, this is all going to be on our website, but I think that if you haven't gotten this from anyone, you know, from your school, these are just kind of good things to live by, especially coming up with going to college. So, you know, making sure that you read the instructions and that you're answering the questions that we've asked and that you're paying attention to the words, the spacing, you know, if there's any limits that are placed on you, you know, make sure that you abide by them. Plan in advance. I've kind of talked about that, but, you know, I think it's important to, you know, kind of sit down sometimes away from the application and really, you know, think about what your life has been for the last 4 years, 3 years, and all the things that you've done. You know, what are you proud of? What have you accomplished? You know, write down your career goals or why you want to go to college. Number 3, so write in a plain style. So when I say throw out your thesaurus, I mean, you know, we want to know the quality of your ideas, not that you know lots of big words. I see sometimes students who you can almost tell they pulled out their thesaurus and the words don't quite fit correctly. And it's almost hard to read because I think they feel like they want to be really intelligent and really smart. And that's not what we're looking for. We want to get to know you. So, you know, you don't have to use all the 25-cent words. You know, choose the proper style, format. Now for us, we use the text boxes, but in general, you know, making sure that your style and your formatting, you know, makes sense. I would say make it personal and passionate. And really, again, these reviewers don't know you. They're only seeing what's on paper. And so the more that you can get them to know you, the more memorable that you're going to be. And really that's what it's about. And so, I just gave some, kind of basic examples. If you want to be a biologist, if you got that passion because your dad bought you a microscope when you were 5, that's something that a reader is going to remember more than just that you want to become a biologist, because there's probably lots of students that want to be a biologist. So it's those little nuggets about who you are and why you're passionate about things that are really going to come through to the reviewers. Again, don't just mention that you work with disadvantaged kids. Tell them how your love of art got you into working with those kids. So focus on specific examples that will help make you memorable. And then another big one is, not to use just specific statements, or to use specific statements instead of just generalizing. I see lots of essays, education is the key to success. Well, that's great. That's true. But, we want you to go deep. How has it affected you? How has it impacted your family? Let us know your true connection to the question. And then finally, find an editor. And if you can, find several, because some editors may be really good at punctuation and grammar and things like that, whereas other editors might really help you just on substance. Obviously at the end of the day, we want the writing to be done by you, but I always think it's a good idea to read something to other people. And then that kind of goes with the 7th one is I would read it out loud, because sometimes when you're reading something in your head, it doesn't really sound the same when you read it out loud. Sometimes you'll hear, things that you didn't notice before. And so that kind of helps you, make some adjustments with it. And then so finally, I would say, people ask all the time, well, what are the reviewers looking for? And it's hard. There's not, a distinct formula, but I think they're just really looking for students that obviously you have to be academically successful in order to apply. I think the GPA, kind of puts forth that, but we're just looking for people that are involved. We have a scorecard that we've developed, and part of that is what we call, we look at public and private obligations. And so really the reviewers want to look holistically at the students. So I know some other scholarships might, grade work independently from extracurriculars, independently from community service. We really look at it all together. So we just want to know, what are you doing outside of school? What does your life look like? Some students are working 30 hours a week because they're helping to pay bills. So we recognize that they're not going to be able to perhaps have the extracurriculars or the volunteer activities that another student might. Similarly, someone might be a super athlete, and so they're, in 3 and 4 and 5 sports, and they're not going to have time to work. So, we try and take all of that into consideration. Likewise, there may be someone who is a caretaker for the younger siblings in their home because maybe their parents work. And so, that is still being engaged in your community, and you're still being a leader. So, that's why we kind of score it that way, and we call it public and private obligations, because we really want to look just holistically at the student. And we want to know that you're passionate about whatever it is you're passionate about, So that's kind of the best advice that I could give about what the reviewers are looking for. And then I'm trying to see. So I've got some direct messages. I'm going to tackle those one-on-one because I don't think that this is the venue for that. This is really just for, kind of general questions. So before I kind of sign off, does anyone have general questions about the scholarship, the application, legacy, anything like that?
I just had a question in reference to the common scholarship that you talked about.
Sure.
Like when are you going to do a Zoom on that too, or something?
Yes, that application opens December 1st.
Okay.
And so we will probably do one either late November or very early in December.
Okay, yeah,
And that information is available on our website. So the scholarship booklet hasn't been updated yet because we've got a couple new scholarships that we're adding. But even if you were to pull it up, it would be similar. And so we have a whole, it's called a scholarship booklet that you can download, and it tells you all the different scholarships and what the eligibility is. And so that will give you, kind of a good idea as to whether that's, something that you want to apply for.
And this information that you're giving today, is it pretty much going to be the same for next year? Probably the dates will be different, but.
It will, yeah, we tweak things a little bit here and there, but for the most part, it will be the exact same. And the dates will probably be the exact same as well. Maybe not exactly, but like I said, because the dates are developed by the endowment, not us. So unless they were to significantly change the timeline, it would probably be the same exact thing.
Okay, because my daughter's going to be a senior next year, but my son went into college this year and it was so hard. We're still struggling financially because was going to Rose Holman, so you can imagine.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I know that's a pricey school for sure.
Yeah. So first child to go to college, so we had no clue. So we want to be ahead of the game for the second child. So
absolutely.
I wanted to hear so that I can be ahead of the game for next year, because I don't want the same thing to happen. Absolutely.
And it is hard because this scholarship opens so early that we're trying to get the information out to all the guidance to get to the students. But it's hard because it's the beginning of the year and people have a lot on their plate. So I love it when I hear from juniors. I just remind them, okay, summer before your senior year.
Believe me. It just sneaks up on you. And I told my daughter, I'm like, we need to watch this. And she's like, Mom, it's for seniors. I said, I don't care. I already lived it with my son. I don't want to go through it with her. And, when you know better, you do better. And with him, we had no clue.
Yeah.
So I want to take advantage of this opportunity, and hopefully, she can apply for it, and, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
One more question that I had,
sure.
Not necessarily because she's applying for this potential 4-year scholarship.
Okay.
Should she stop applying for others, right?
Should she stop?
No, she shouldn't, right? She should continue
to look. No, I would encourage anyone. There are a ton of scholarships out there, and I usually include that when I have my December Zoom meetings. There's lots of websites that have scholarships. Some of them are on our website. We actually have a new website. So that's like one of the things that we're also working on including. But there's like fastweb.com, scholarships.com, College Board. So depending on the amount of time that you want to spend applying, there are so many out there. And again, in December, when I do my Zoom, I actually have a whole slide that I talk about other opportunities for students. Because there's a lot of opportunities if you're willing to kind of spend the time to do them.
Well, at this point, like I told my son, we don't have an option. Because we're left with $45,000 a year, for Rose. So we don't have an option. So we haven't been very successful at all, especially because he was admitted late. I want to say the end of March. So it was like boom, boom, boom. We had nothing. We went in with blindfold. So we have been trying to, and a lot of the deadlines had already expired. So now we're
Yeah.
like trying to see what we can do from this point forward.
Yeah. Well, and you know, anyone that's on here, you know, if you want to reach out to me individually, I'm a part-time employee, but I'm usually here from like 9:30 to 3 during the week. You know, you can always call the office and talk with me if you know, want to kind of brainstorm other scholarship, you know,
Sure.
opportunities. Or you can, you know, as I had mentioned before, you can shoot me an email, and I'll try and get back to you with
Yes, I would
anything
take
that
you up
you're-
on that offer. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So I have a couple private messages. I promise I'm gonna get back to you all after this, but okay, let's see, when will we know that you've got it accepted? So there's kind of that several tiers. So your school is going to pick their nominee in October. I think that was the 5th. So you'll know whether you're selected by your school to kind of move on October 5th. And then once that process happens through Legacy, we have to send everything to the endowment. So we don't actually announce it until the middle of December. So December 15th is the date that you would know finally if you were a recipient or not. Any other questions? Well, I thank you all for taking the time to listen.
How would you know that you got accepted? Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So do you mean, how would you know you got the scholarship? Usually we would send an email to you, and then we would send it to your guidance counselor. And then once you're accepted into the program, we've got like orientation. So we've got lots of events that we have you do that. Could you post my contact? Sure. Let's see.
Okay.
I'll put it here
Thank
too.
you.
No problem.
Do we put our guidance counselor in the application?
Nope. Once you sorry, I can't type and speak at the same time. Once you put in your school, I know all the guidance counselors from Lake County. So usually every guidance counselor or every school has one guidance counselor that's kind of their contact point for the Lilly. So that's why we asked that at the beginning of the application, because I send guidance counselors, like I did it on Monday, I send them a complete list of everyone that's applying, you know, mainly so that if they don't see names on there that they want to see, they can kind of, you know, go and talk to those students. And then also for those that have started and haven't submitted, they can sometimes give them a little extra nudge towards the deadline if they haven't finished things up. So I work really closely with the guidance counselors.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And I know they've moved around a lot this year. Every couple of years, it seems like guidance counselors move all over, but we make sure that we have the right contact person at each school so that we can get that out. And hopefully you're hearing about this from your school. So if private message me, if you go to a school and your school hasn't told you about it, I want to know so I can make sure that they're, you know, passing this information on to everyone. So is there anything else? Okay, well, for those of you that kind of sent me a direct message, if you want to stay on the chat, I'm going to chat you back directly. But for everyone else, I thank you for taking the time to listen to this. The PDF for this is going to be on our website. Again, that's legacyfdn.org. And the recording is going to be posted to our YouTube channel probably by the end of the week if you wanted to listen to it again, or if you wanted to share it with someone that you thought might benefit from it. So thank you very, very much. And I hope that you all have a wonderful afternoon. So I'm just going to private message people back, and then I think we're all done. I'm trying to figure out how to direct message people. Let's see.
For mine, it's okay if you respond to everyone. This is Frederick Butler.
Oh, okay. Well, let me.
I should have just did everyone, so it's okay. It's just just a question.
I haven't even read it yet. Let's see. Let me. I'm not
Well,
used to doing this all by myself. So let's see. Let me.
Well,
scroll
if people are still on the phone, I was just asking, you know, when it comes to AGI, because I was saying, is there any consideration for, you know, if I have multiple college students?
Unfortunately for this scholarship, there's not. The
Okay.
benchmarks are just kind of there. I would say for other scholarships, there are. So for other scholarships, all of our other scholarships, there's only one that has a definitive financial eligibility requirement benchmark. All of the other ones, I think, you know, kind of look at finances a little bit more holistically, because we'll look at your estimated family, you know, your FAFSA, EFC. We'll look at who's in college, you know, we look at all that stuff. But for this specific scholarship, it's kind of a cut and dry situation. Yeah.
So it's a matter of just like watching your webpage for when the other ones open.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It would open.
Okay.
They open December 1st.
December 1st. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to, yeah, just have to make sure we keep a lookout for that. That's actually excellent information. I thank you for that.
Okay. No problem. No problem.
So you've answered my question.
Perfect.
Thank you. Great presentation. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And then someone was asking if we need to give SAT scores. No, we do not look at SAT or ACT scores for this application. That is not necessarily the case for the Common App that opens in December. That a lot of it is donor driven. So the different scholarships might have different requirements, but for the Lilly, we do not ask for it. So I hope that answers your question. So I guess that's it. I appreciate all of you taking the time, and please reach out if you have any questions. I'm here for you. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's time to call and reach out if we needed to chat with you about something.
Yeah, I'm here 9:30 to 3, Monday through Thursday.
Okay.
So, and I'm usually at my desk. So, you know, there's not like one specific time that's better than others, but normally if you give me a call, if I'm not here, I'll give you a call back, you know, within the day.
Okay, perfect.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Thank you.